Hi, everyone. One of the goals at Christmas, once again, apart from sharing the hope and joy of Christmas with the homeless, is to help the community understand issues surrounding homelessness. Last year, our team had the privilege of visiting the Scott Mission, which is a ministry providing shelter and meals to the homeless and the needy in downtown Toronto. Today, we are fortunate to be joined by Alexandra from the Scott Mission, who will share with us about how the Scott Mission is coping with the coronavirus pandemic, the difficulties shelters are facing, and what you can do to help. So, Alexandra, could you please, for those who haven't had the opportunity to visit the shelter last year, briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Scott Mission?
Sure. So my name is Alexandra. I am the volunteer coordinator at the Scott Mission. I work alongside Trevor Smith. So both of us would have been corresponding with you last year and welcoming you in. I believe you came on a Saturday and one of my colleagues was able to show you around. The Scott Mission actually recently celebrated 79 years of existence. So we've been doing a lot of ministry amongst the poor since that time. So it's been a quite lengthy service time. And typically we have 72 beds in our shelter room. So these men that come in, they're able to stay overnight. It's just a men's shelter. And we are able to house them for up to a month, after which they have to go under a caseworker, because the whole idea is to make sure that they're able to stay with us, but then get up on their own feet and become independent in their living. And so for them to stay with us long-term is actually not helping them in the long-term run. And so apart from the shelter, we do also support families who are low income. We do that through hot meals, as well as groceries and the food bank and the clothing room. We do also have camp as well as after school programs. Now, a lot of this obviously has been affected by the pandemic. Most of our services have been suspended for a time being, or they've been modified. So definitely a hard time for individuals in need, because some of the most basic things of need are currently very hard to get.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I guess, as all of us know, the COVID pandemic has made things a lot more difficult for a lot of us, and I'm sure for you guys as well. So I know earlier you shared that the pandemic, has made things harder, but can you go into a little more details in terms of the kind of challenges that the shelters have been facing, or even the homeless, because of the COVID pandemic?
So I remember in March when I was in the office, seeing things shut down. And one of the first things that we had to consider is closing down our dining room. And so typically we feed over 200 people every single morning with hot meals. And so right now, because of the pandemic, people were lining up on the streets and picking up bag lunches or takeout container meals through the side window. And that was really hard to see, because with weather changing, things being pretty cold in March, it was difficult to see that now that restaurants were closed and places to sit were closed, individuals couldn't actually sit down to have a meal. So that was one of the first things that have happened when we started going into more of a lockdown mode in March. Other things that we have had to be creative with was changing our food bank. And so what that looked like is usually we had individuals come downstairs after being registered and they got to choose their food. Now everything is up on the main floor, and we have stations just like we used to, except the process is much faster. All of our staff are required to wear PPE. So that would include masks, hats, face shields. There's plexiglass at every food bank station to ensure optimum health and safety security. And when people come in, they're able to pick up their groceries and to go out in a very safe manner. So at the mission, everything gets sanitized frequently. Recently, we did open up our dining hall as well to make sure that people are eating inside in the cold instead of being out in the cold. Obviously there's physical distancing protocols, so people are sitting quite far apart from each other, but they do have the option to come sit in. We've noticed that people choose not to sit in, so they're still quite afraid to be within a contained space. Most people who are choosing to come for hot meals are already just taking them and stepping out and eating them wherever they can. And so those are some of the hardships. Some of the other things that have been tough was reducing the numbers of beds that are available at the mission. That has been done because of the physical distancing protocols that are in place right now in shelters. And so from 72 beds, we've had to go to 40 beds. And what that looks like is we have several rooms right now dedicated to our shelter. We had to take our staff lounge and transform that into a shelter area, so no more staff lounge. We've also taken another staff room where we used to have as a common room for meetings, and we changed that into a quarantine room in the case that a client did need to quarantine because they were showcasing symptoms. Now, some of the good things, we do have a nurse on site that is able to work alongside our staff and help our clients. So that has been something else that we've implemented since the start of the pandemic. We also did in the past have portable bathrooms because there was a great need for people to use the bathroom. And since restaurants are closed, we've realized that that is something that we needed to initiate to ensure that individuals were able to access that on site.
Sounds like a lot of work there. And I wonder, apart from the things that you were talking about, are there any other safety protocols, you know, for screening for the homeless and people who come into the center? What other measures do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a welcome center, and what that looks like is there are several tables on premise where there's a staff with, again, all full PPE attire, whether it's a face shield or plexiglass, gloves, or a mask, and they take temperatures. So the very first thing, in order for someone to be on site and on premise, is we need to take their temperatures. And if the temperature is too high, then we need to take the safety precautions to ensure that they're not on premise. And after that, they need to sign in. And so every single individual, whether it's a client or staff, needs to answer questions regarding whether or not they've been in contact with anyone who's been tested positive, if they've been under you know, overseas or in a different province, or if they've traveled. So all of the necessary questions that are usually asked for safety reasons, the same is done at the mission before people can actually stay on site.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Alexandra. And I know earlier you touched upon how the shelter is trying to increase its capacity as much as possible, given the the distancing restriction and all. But I'm sure, you know, still there's probably a great demand for space, for bed space, and it probably goes beyond the space that are able to make with the START mission, right? So I'm just wondering too, so how are those situations dealt with? The START mission, like work with other shelters, you're trying to make space, or how do you accommodate with the excessive demands?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that the government has actually done is they have a program right now where we have a select number of rooms in hotels that are allocated to individuals who are homeless. And so it was actually interesting because when the program was started, you know, Scott Mission was approached and we were supposed to choose a select amount of individuals who stay at our shelter and recommend them for the hotel. And we were quite shocked to find out that not a lot of people wanted to leave. Not a lot of people wanted to go to a hotel room where they would have their own room and they would get 3 meals a day, because for them, the Scott Mission is home. And the community that they find there amongst the staff, amongst other men who stay overnight, was much more important to them than having a nice room to themselves and 3 meals a day. So while we did reduce our numbers in the shelter, we do have some of our clients in that particular program in partnership with hotels, and that's how we're currently accommodating that need.
Community is definitely very important. Thank you, Alexandra. So a lot of people watching this or listening to this would be wondering what ways they can help, both during these unprecedented times and normally. Can they volunteer? Can they donate? And how can they do so? Can you please explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like I mentioned, I used to be the volunteer coordinator. We have had to pause our volunteer program for some time because of safety protocols. We are currently reopening the volunteer program just a little bit by inviting back some of our regular volunteers. We are unable to take group volunteers at the moment, but we're expecting that things might change moving forward. So in the new year, hopefully, as things change circumstantially in Toronto in terms of the various protocols in place, we are hoping to bring back volunteers. In the meantime, we do have individuals who are wanting to know how to help out. And that is the same question we're asking as coordinators of volunteers. What can people who can't physically come and help, can they actually do? And one of the ways that individuals have been creative in helping is putting together food drives, giving in financial donations, whether it's doing it within a setting with other individuals and requesting that, you know, this particular amount of money be placed for food or clothing or things like that. And so other people have been dropping off clothing donations. We have recently reinstated that, and we are taking in prioritizing on winter clothing. So that means hats, boots, coats, sweaters, anything that would help in the winter time, because we all know that winter is pretty brutal. And especially someone who doesn't have the means, whether they have lost jobs or, again, they're on the streets, that is so important that they're properly clothed. So those are some of the ways that individuals who want to help can help out. Again, putting together food drive, bringing in clothing donations, being able to put together a financial donation to help the operations of the Scott Mission so that we can continue providing the modified services we are. Those are all things that individuals are proactively doing, and we are inviting others to participate in that.
You will definitely be getting something from the Christmas Once Again team. Now,
Great.
just to add on to that, would you mind sharing with us maybe your website and your address in case people want to do a food drive, or if they want to make a financial contribution to the Scott Mission so that they can help?
Absolutely. So if you go to www.scottmission.com, you will be redirected to our website. In order to make a financial donation, you can give us a call and either do that on the phone or you can do it online. There is a form that you can complete there, and any amount you are able to donate that way. If you'd like to drop by the Scott Mission, you can do so Monday to Friday from about 9 to 3. And our address is 502 Spadina Avenue. It's just at the intersection of College and Spadina. You won't miss it. It's right beside new university residences that I don't know if you have heard in the news, but there's a fire there last week. So if you have heard in the news, we're right there. We're pretty close by. So yeah, we'd love it if you guys can drop by. If you're unsure about timing, please give us a call just to make sure that when you are arriving, it's at a convenient time. Weekends are probably not the best because we are quite limited in staff. So preferably during the daytime on weekdays would be great for anyone to pop in. And you don't even have to come inside. You park right outside of the front doors, ring the doorbell, and one of our staff will assist you with your donation.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And I mean, this year for sure has been very different. And but I'm still very glad. We're glad to hear that the Scott Missions has, you know, regardless of the COVID pandemic, continue to be servicing those that are less fortunate. And we hope that, you know, you guys can continue to do good work in the community, and that many of us, you know, can continue to help out, to learn about how to help out as well. So at this time, on behalf of our organization, Christmas Once Again, I'd like to thank Alexandra once again, you know, for your time in joining us and answering our questions.
Thank you, Alexandra, and for all your services at the Scott Mission.
Thank you. Keep us in prayer, and keep us in prayer. And thank you again for your partnership. We are very, very thankful for all the work that you've been doing with us over the past couple of years.
We'll be praying for you, and we'll, of course, continue to keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Merry Christmas.
No problem. Merry Christmas.